Hey everyone, welcome again to another Anstead's live video. We've got some special guests today with us and some fun things to talk about. Wayne, who do we have with us today?
Well, we are privileged to have Nick Perdomo and Nicholas Perdomo with us from Perdomo Cigar Company.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Good afternoon.
Glad to have you. Perdomo is one of our top-selling brands in the store. So one of my favorite cigars, too. Perdomo Champagne is my go-to cigar almost every morning. So I appreciate it. Whether I'm out in the woods hunting, fishing, sitting here in the store, it's usually a Perdomo Champagne that's in my hand to start the day off. So appreciate the work you guys do on that cigar. It's awesome.
Thank you. We've had that brand for 20 years, and that's been our workhorse. Yeah, I smoke a lot of myself too, Wayne.
Well, good.
There's a lot of people that I tell when I'm helping out in a humidor and they're looking for something, I always take them to a Perdomo 20th anniversary. And I tell them that the 20th anniversary Sun-Grown is my favorite cigar in the humidor. I can smoke them all the time. I love them. The flavor, the balance, the profile. It's a perfect cigar.
Thank you.
So, guys,
go ahead, Wayne.
Have you guys on. I understand you guys have a couple new cigars coming out. And can you tell us, maybe tell our customers and us a little bit about them?
Sure. So we have our brand new Perdomo Reserve 10th anniversary. It's a grandfather item, which is very important. This is a brand that we've been working on for my dad, Arthur Kemper, the family. We've been working on for the last couple of years. Basically, it's we have the sun-grown wrapper and Maduro wrapper, all 60-year-old Nicaraguan filler tobaccos, and both wrappers, the Cuban seed sun-grown and the Cuban seed Maduro, are grown by our families in Nicaragua. So nice medium plus body cigars. Sun-grown's got a nice spice to it with a little earthy finish. The Maduro has a nice sweetness with a little bit of a peppery finish. Both really phenomenal blends.
And these are it right here. That's the I'm going to come right up to you so you can see it. That's the new sun-grown with this wrapper or with that band.
Okay.
I've got a great picture here I can put up on the screen so I can see
if you look behind me here in the store, you can see the blue. That's the Maduro.
Mm-hmm.
And the red behind Nicholas' head is the new sun-grown. And like Nicholas said, look, we don't really come out with a lot of new brands. I think that you guys have plenty of stuff on the shelves. But we had Champagne Noir and Champagne Sun-Grown. Brands have been out for a little over 20 years. I think they were a little long in the tooth in the sense of the packaging and the merchandising aspect of it. And Arthur decided to work on it and revamp it. And I decided a couple years ago that I wanted to reblend the cigar. We have a lot of tobaccos from the Jalapa Valley, which is about 2 hours north of us. And buonanotte for somebody from Italy. I love it. I love Italy. I like cliffs. But I wanted to reblend the cigar. And these tobaccos that we had up in Jalapa Valley have a lot of sweetness. It's because the minerals in the ground. And I wanted to come up with some with a really solid tobacco core that Noir and Sun-Grown have. But I wanted to add some sweetness. it's been a winner for us. We've test smoked that cigar on our factory tour. We had about 130 retailers together with about 120 consumers taste the cigar. We didn't tell them it was anything new. We just wanted to see what people said. They really loved the cigar. And then our tasting panel, which has close to 300 years of not only premium tobacco experience, but smoking experience. A lot of you guys, Wayne and Tom, have met Aristes and Sarah and everybody. They were we came to a consensus, which is very unique. We usually just butt heads every time we come up with a new cigar, and we really loved it. We're really happy with it. It'll come out August 3rd. First shipment's completely sold out already, and you know,
I got a great picture here of the packaging up close so people can see it. It really pops off the shelf like a lot of the new packaging designs you guys came up with the past couple of years. You can see the Maduro with the nice blue accents in the box and the sun-grown in the red. They look really, really presentable. That's a really nice packaging.
Thank you very much. We're really proud of it.
Yeah, it's like Superman versus Batman with the red and the blue. So
Yeah.
It
I gotta
does.
remember that one.
Well, hey, I got a few questions that came in from some of our viewers and some folks who sent me a question before. And so let me run off with a couple that were sent in. One of our viewers, Corey Woodard, is also our Cigars for Warriors local coordinator. He wants to know if there's any improvements in the facilities down in Esteli going on right now, or what do you plan on doing, or what's been done?
Well, we just built we have a new facility in the center of town, and that's for restock. Believe it or not, we know with our sales and what we're selling that by 2024 we would really be dwindling down our finished stock of finished cigars. We want to keep that pattern up. So what we did is 18 months ago we opened up a new facility, very small, at 14 to 15,000 cigars a day. But, you add that up, it's 75,000 cigars a week, and it's 300,000 cigars, 350,000 cigars a month. And since the last 18 months, we haven't even sold one of those cigars, and we're just building. We built a new aging room in the back, very large, about 22,000 square feet, and we can add an additional 8.5 million cigars in that aging room. And it's really important for us that once we come out with a product that we keep it in aging for at least 6 months. These new brands here, we were actually going to come out with this in February, and with COVID and everything, what happened was we had to delay it. And this will be the first cigar that I've ever made in 28 years. It's been in an aging room for almost 13 months before I deliver the product to the retailer. So these things are like what we say in Spanish, they're like butter. They're
like butter.
Yeah, they're perfect. And a shout out to my friend Corey. He's a good man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He's here in Fayetteville somewhere smoking a factory tour blend as we speak. So love to see Corey come to the shop and help out and
He's a good man.
participate in those events. Got another question. This one was to Nicholas. Kind of what's your role now at Perdomo? We see a lot more of you. We hear a lot more from you. What technically or is your official role in your job?
So I'm the national director of sales for the company. So we have a sales team of 14 salesmen who travel around the country, who have their different states. And then I also have a team of 3 in-house salesmen, so a total 17 salesmen. So basically I work with them with merchandising. I work with them, selling strategies. And then I'm usually on the road minimum once a week out of the month. So we're continuously, training, retraining, and just pushing the product. So that's pretty much my role, where I work hand in hand with the salesman.
Well, that's pretty good.
Can I be the bragging father who's very proud?
Only for a minute. Only for a minute.
Nicholas has wanted to be in the cigar industry since he was a little boy, and I remember he would stay with my father in Nicaragua, and I always wanted my kids to blaze their own path. My daughter's going to be an attorney, but Nicholas always wanted to be in the cigar industry. So when he graduated, he came on board and asked for work, asked to come on with the company. And I said, yeah, but we didn't give Nicholas a desk. We put Nicholas out, and I said, you got to walk the walk before you talk the talk. And I'm really proud of you, because the truth of the matter is he's earned everything he's got, and salesmen will tell you that. I mean, this is a young man who, look, he has the toughest job. He's my son. And I was probably tougher on him. Matter of fact, there's no doubt I was tougher on him than anybody that I've ever been with, because I didn't want anybody to say this is Nick's son. I wanted him to blaze his own trail, and he built himself up, and he's more than deserving on the position he got. If you look at the stand-up displays that you see all over the world, those were actually designed by my son, and it made the company. He got to pay. You paid for your college education, so I'm proud of you for that. And he's come up with a lot of different strategies and stuff, and sometimes you learn from the young. And he's done a lot of great things with the company in the last 2 years of him being our director of sales. Yeah. And Wayne, Nicholas is 27, but he's much more comfortable talking to you guys. A lot of people say he's an old soul, and the truth of the matter is, when he was a little boy, I took him everywhere around the world with me.
Right.
So he knew everybody. Nicholas used to go to the RTDA shows when he was 14 years old. We'd give him a fake ID. I know you've been on the board, but so what? I'd give him a fake ID, and I'd get him in because he was always tall for his age. And he'd be writing all these big orders, and all the retailers would remember him. And I remember I used to always give him the hard ones. And one day he came up to me and he said, "Dad, you always give me the most difficult ones. Why is it?" And I said, "Because that's the only way you're going to learn. I'm not going to give you Wayne Anstead. He's too easy. I'm going to give you the tough ones." But I'm really proud of him.
Well, speaking of, blazing trails, a good segue to the question that I had for Nicholas. When might we expect to see a Perdomo limited edition blend from you?
Well, I mean, in terms of, especially with this new reserve, the whole thing is, it's not about, I don't want to have my name saying that this was made by Nicholas Perdomo III or anything like that. I want to be in collaboration with the Perdomo family, making a brand and making a new line. It's about the family. It's not about my dad. It's not about myself, Arthur. The company's so much bigger than any of us, and it's a whole group. It's the thousands of employees that we have in Nicaragua, the employees we have here in the United States. So it's a collective. So, I mean, I'm just proud and blessed to be able to be a part of the process. So for me, it's just, as long as I can be involved, it doesn't have to have my name on it. As long as it says Perdomo on it, I'm all in.
But maybe someday we'll see a special blend from Nicholas.
So
under the Perdomo umbrella, of course, but
any cigar that's on the market that's been tested by me, and I accept it. So
fair enough.
One of my customers asked me, that couldn't be on today, a Champagne Noir smoker. I mean, we're talking loyal. We've been in our new location here for 7 years. I remember where he probably was 18 years old buying his first cigar. He's in his 30s now. He smoked the Champagne Noir all this time. It's his go-to cigar every single solitary day. What cigar should he smoke in your line now?
He should smoke the new Perdomo Reserve 10th Anniversary Maduro. The Noir was like our Glenlivet 12. This was like our Glenlivet 21. I really think that not only did our team do a fantastic job in reblending the cigar, we really feel that the cigar is superior. And if I didn't feel that way, I wouldn't have done it. Look, the packaging, it's going to fly off the shelves. We know that. But what's the most beautiful thing about the cigar is the actual cigar. And I know who you're talking about. I met him the last time I was doing an event with you.
Yeah.
Just assure him that in 3 decades of me making cigars, this is truly one of the best cigars we have ever made. And the cigar is still going to retail between $7.25 to $9.75. There's 0 price increase on the cigar. I think you can't get better for the money, with pretty much all our brands. But I'm really proud of these 2 brands, and I'm really thankful to the retailers out there and the consumers out there that, one of the greatest things, Wayne, is it's even been with you. You guys come out to the show, and I show you products, and you go, "I want this. I'll take this, and I'll take that." And a lot of times I'll go, "Hey, Wayne, would you like to try it?" And you'll go, "Yeah, I'll take one. I'll smoke it later on tonight at the hotel," or whatever. It's nice that there's, listen, we've been in business quite a long time, but it's nice that we have such nice partnerships with our retailers, and they trust us, you know what I mean? And that's humbling to me. It really is.
Well, and I'll tell you this here now. I mean, I feel we're true partners in this industry. You, me, Anstead's Tobacco Company. Your cigars are, and I say this, like I said, I smoke a Perdomo champagne every day and various blends of yours. I like the 12-year also a lot. every single solitary cigar smokes perfect. I mean, and I tell that to people. Anybody that's, I mean, it's in my, you want to call it a sales pitch or whatever. When I engage a customer and we're talking about cigars, one of the things I say is I've never had a Perdomo cigar that didn't smoke right. And you know, it's a handmade product. You kind of have to expect problems from time to time, but you guys have really mastered, and I know you do the draw testing and your people, we've been to a number of factory tours and watched how things are done, but you guys have really are spot on when it comes to quality control. And then the price point of your cigar and the quality of the cigar, I can understand why it's one of our top selling brands here, but you guys do a fantastic job on it.
Well, thank you, Wayne. You know, I'm real picky in life. If I like something, I'm loyal to it. And I think our consumers, we should attribute the same thing to them, and they should be just as picky. They spend a lot of money on cigars, and nothing's more frustrating than a cigar that doesn't draw or doesn't burn correctly or taste differently from another one. We have a new YouTube channel. We talk a lot about, you know, how to cut and light cigars. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get people to learn the enjoyment about cigars from nuts to bolts, from start to finish. And I think it's important. And you know, I told my son, and I say this all the time, in my stage of my career, the only thing I want to hear is what Wayne Anstead said. And the only thing I want to hear is our consumers being, you know, very comfortable with purchasing our cigars, knowing they're going to be good and they're going to be at utmost quality. And I think our customers and our retailers deserve that.
Yeah, we appreciate it. And like I said, you guys have been great partners with us. I don't know if you can see the artwork behind Tom there. Some big giant posters that we were at. It was the IPCPR show back in the day, and you guys' booth always looked so good. We would normally be there right now. You know that, right?
Oh, I know.
We would have been there. We'd have been talking face to face, not over the internets. But I remember being at the show one time, and I love your artwork. We had this big giant building, and I said, "What do you guys do with these signs at the end of the show?" And you go, "Well, we redo them. We get new ones every year." And I said, "Well, if you'll do me a favor, ship them to me. I'll pay the shipping." And thank you. You shipped them free. I appreciate it. But now we kind of have our Perdomo conference room back there, which the artwork is just fantastic.
It looks beautiful. I'd be prefaced by not saying hello to everybody out there who's writing. This is kind of nice. We actually have a little teleprompter over here, and we could see people that are writing us. And my good friend Jerry Goldenson, I saw him there. Laura, a lot of nice people here. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, been a good day.
Wayne, why don't you let the viewers know what our specials are going to be from now till Sunday?
I'm going to throw that back at you, Tom, because you paid more attention.
Thanks.
Anytime. I'm
So we're
dealing.
going to run some specials for all of our Perdomo fans out there. And this applies if you order online, just pop a little note in the instructions to remind us about the specials, depending on who's working that day, and in the store as well. So any 4 cigars from Perdomo you buy, we'll give you a free Perdomo cigar. If you buy 10, I'm going to give you 3 Perdomo cigars. And if you buy a box, you're going to get 8 Perdomo cigars. Plus, we got some other nifty swag we're going to find to throw in there with you. Pretty good stuff. So you can order online at www.ansteads.com, shop in our online store. If you've got friends who really love Perdomo cigars, but you don't know which ones they like, you can actually buy an e-gift certificate right online and send it right to them. And they can use that in the store or online. It's pretty cool. I just turned that on today because I want to get that turned on. So we're going to run those specials. Come on by, see Wayne, myself, Alex, Ben, Lauren, some of our new folks, Nick and Ashley, and Chris and Ed. And they'll take care of you really well because, like a lot of our viewers are saying, there's nothing better than a Perdomo. You know, this is a great comment from Gary Heller. Other makers should take note, just saying, you know. Never had a Perdomo that burned wrong, that didn't draw right, and they always look beautiful. And I think that's got to do with that barrel aging that you do in the wrappers. Is that right, you guys? Because you said they always come out looking almost identical when you pull that hand of tobacco out.
Well, the big thing, too, is the color sorting. Our people do a phenomenal job. The barrel aging does 3 things. It gives it another fermentation period. It caramelizes those tobaccos and gives them a darker hue because they do get another fermentation period. And it brings the sugars up on the top, so you really taste a solid core of tobacco, and I think it differentiates our cigars. And when we color sort a box of cigars with our color sorting team, we actually color sort the whole box. And where most people just go left to right, I just think that a box of cigars is so special. I don't care what it costs. I remember when I bought my first box, it was $84. I stared at the box and my wife thought I was out of my mind. And I think that the consumers deserve the same thing, you know. So the quality is the most important thing for us. And I just, nothing brings more of a smile to me, and I'm sure to you guys, when someone's happy with your products and they're joyous about it. And guys like Brett over here who just wrote me, I mean, the nice things they write on Facebook and social media, believe me, it's much appreciated.
Well, so I'm trying to remember, you know, I try to look back, maybe asking a question, Nick, about a little the history of Perdomo Cigars and how you got started into it. And I'm trying to remember, as far back as I can remember, we've carried Perdomo Cigars. What year did you start actual production as maybe a national brand? What would you say that was?
Well, I started in 1992 out of my garage. In the latter part of 1994, I called my father, who was retired, and I said, Dad, I sold 1 million cigars. And he said, well, maybe you're not so much of a moron. So I would say in the latter part of 93 and 94 is when we got into, you know, doing, you know, 800, 900, 1 million cigars. And my father, when he came from Cuba, said, you live in the greatest country in the world. And if you work hard, you can attain anything you want. I never forgot that. And today we're one of the largest cigar manufacturers in the world. And you really can do anything you want if you put your head to it. And really, I'm blessed. I have a lot of great workers that work for the company. The average worker's been with the company for 19.4 years. I'm really blessed about that. We have a great team. We have great salesmen all across the country that work for our company, and we're just very blessed.
That's awesome. So when did the Golf cigar come out? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah. The Golf cigar came out in 2002, and that was actually a really good brand, but it had a niche because I think a lot of people that were golfers were buying it, and guys who maybe didn't play golf said, well, why should I buy this? This is for golf, maybe. And I think sometimes you pigeonhole yourself when you do it. I just thought, you know, I like the names Hole in One, Birdie, and so on. And so many cigar smokers are golfers, and it actually did very well. But, you know, we came out with different lines and stuff, and they overtook them, and you only got so much table time, you know?
Right. Yeah. I just remember the brand. I just thought the packaging was off the chart. Obviously, here in Fayetteville, North Carolina, we're close to Pinehurst, Southern Pines, the golfing community. And, you know, we did well with the cigar. That was just one of the most beautiful packaging products I ever saw hit the market. That cigar's one of, you know, as I look back now 20 years, I just remember that brand in particular. But
it had that international British racing green from Jaguar. I thought that was the most beautiful color. Added a little metal flake to it. And our logo, it was like a tiny little golf ball. And Callaway was kind enough. We partnership with them with a golf ball line with Perdomo Cigars back in that when we had freedom. And we ended up doing golf balls and all kinds of stuff. It was really good.
Awesome. So, Nicholas, what are your first memories of being involved in the tobacco world? Either sorting tobacco, climbing on bales, or just following your dad to the factory? What do you remember?
I used to follow my dad around the factories, and I remember climbing up on bales. I think we have some photos floating around of me on top of bales, and you know, my sister and I would play hide and seek, and we'd hide behind the bales of tobaccos, behind the tobacco rollers. You know, I mean, we did anything to keep ourselves entertained back in those days. You know, the late '90s in the garage was, you know, there wasn't much to do. It was only like a couple TV shows on. You know,
right.
So, I mean, yeah. That's those factories, you know, we spent a lot of time and a lot of money.
I've got a great question from one of our viewers here. I'm gonna put it up for you. It's from Robert Berry. He wants to know if you use the same brand barrels for aging or do you use different barrels?
No, they're from different companies. We work with a company called Buffalo Trace. We use a lot of their stuff. Most of them say Buffalo Trace, Pappy Van Winkle, Charles Dick. I'm not the biggest bourbon guy, to be honest with you, but it's important that it uses good French oak. Most of our barrels are older. Now they use American oak. It's a little more harder. I like the more soft type woods because it impregnates the alcohol to help the fermentation. But today we have 986 bourbon barrels, so we have plenty of them in the facility.
That's a lot of barrels. I remember the spot in the warehouse or the bank, you know, that had that corner that was just barrels. There might have been 50 or 60. So now you must have built a whole nother 200,000 square foot warehouse for that number of barrels.
We actually have a warehouse full of them on the back corner on the west side of the facility. Today, if you went to the facility, you wouldn't recognize. Today, we have over 1 million square feet of building space and on 16 acres, and we really can't even fit a crouton anywhere around that facility anymore. So it's humbling to say the least. I never thought we'd ever fill that lot up when my dad and I purchased it in 1998.
Well, I remember, we try to we take a trip to a factory probably every year, and I tell my customers, if the best factory tour, I'm not saying it's good drawn out, I'll tell you even when you're not here, is your all strip, whether you're putting it on or Arthur's putting it on. I can't wait to see Nicholas down there one day putting a trip on. It's just when you go in there and you pop the top off one of those barrels and you take a whiff of that tobacco. I mean, you can talk about it till the cows come home, but until you experience it, that you just don't understand it. And the trips that you guys give from seed to smoke is just kind of off the chart. And we really enjoy bringing our customers down because you can't help but watch what you guys put into a cigar, and then they become extremely loyal Perdomo customers back here at the shop.
And that's how I learned a whole lot. I was just a customer back then, and then Wayne talked about the trip they were having. I said, well, I got to do this because this is just fantastic. I've been smoking cigars for quite a while, but now I'm going to learn something. I learned so much down there on the tour with Arthur and the team down there and everything going on, like Wayne said, from seed to smoke. It was such a fantastic time. I learned so much that Wayne was looking for some more part-time help, and I already had a full-time job and then some. So I said, well, I'll apply if you need some help. And yes, I had some experience. I said, well, I went to Nicaragua, so I got some street credit, I guess. And it's just been a fantastic time. I mean, ever since after that trip, a few months after that trip, I've been with Anstead, minus the 1 year overseas, but I'm back and we're selling cigars and having a great time here. But the most thorough education you can get is go to a Perdomo factory tour. And when you see what goes into it, the passion, the love, the hard work, the labor, you appreciate every cigar you smoke, but even more, every Perdomo you smoke.
Well, thanks very much. For us, it's a passionate thing for us. We've been doing this our 15th year. We're going to start them again in the latter part of January through March, and we're signing up people as we speak right now. And we just want people to learn how we make cigars. Nicholas calls it the Perdomo way, and I tend to agree with him. You guys have been at different factories. We do things all a little differently. I'm kind of anal, as you know, and I just like things done correctly. I study a lot of things. About 9 years ago, I went into my merchandising thing, and I studied under Google. And I'm on the board at the University of Alabama. A good friend of mine who was President Kimberly Clark. I learned about them and how they did things. I learned things about the square inch and so on. And I not only wanted to make great cigars, but I wanted to help our retailers. You got to remember, my business is a little different than most people's business. 83.14% of my business is brick and mortar. So if you heard me in the last couple of months on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, it was all about supporting your local brick and mortar stores. And I still ask people to do that. I always preface by I was doing a Zoom with Pearl Drums, and this gentleman had mentioned something that happened to me. And I remember when I was a kid, I needed a set of drumsticks. It was like 6:55 at night, and I was going to play with these guys, and I broke my sticks. And I called my local music store, brick and mortar guy, and I said, when do you close? He said, 3 minutes. I said, I can't be there for a half an hour. I really need these sticks. Can I have them? And he said, yeah. And I'm sure I paid $1 more than what they would have cost, or $2 more. I don't care if it was $10 more. But I'll never forget that guy waited for me. And those are the great things about brick and mortar guys. And listen, with a lot of states with regulations and taxes, if we keep trying to save 50 cents, we're going to put a lot of guys out of business. When you really look at the scheme of things, it doesn't really mean much. And, we sit at their lounges, you drink their coffee, you use their air conditioner, humidity. They teach you, they talk to you. I mean, some of the greatest places I've ever been are in cigar lounges. So I'm really resolute about the brick and mortar stores. Look, I'm proud of all our partners, whether it be catalog partners or anywhere we sell cigars around the world. But really the artery and the blood of the premium cigar businesses are brick and mortar stores, and I'm adamant about that. I also have 14 salesmen that Nicholas runs, and we need to give them bullets. And what I don't want them to do is have to fight with retailers. Where retailers are saying, "Why can our consumers can buy them cheaper than we can even buy them?" That's not what we want to do. We want to protect our legacy, which is our brand, and we also want to protect our brick and mortar stores. That's the truth.
Well, and I kind of look at it. I mean, we're the same way. I think when we built this lounge here in Fayetteville, it's one of the greatest things I always get from people is, "Oh, I can't believe this is in Fayetteville, North Carolina, not in New York, Chicago, or some big city." But one of our big customer base is obviously the military. Fort Bragg is here, and you talk about customer service. We had a guy call a couple weeks ago and needed some cigars, and he was on Fort Bragg, but they're quarantined. They couldn't get out, couldn't take any shipments, and desperately needed cigars. And so one of my guys said, "Well, let me see what we can do." And he turned around. He actually delivered them out to Fort Bragg to this guy. I mean, it was only like 6 cigars, but it's kind of like your story. The guy wrote on Facebook, told us wonderful things, called us and thanked us for being so. But that's what we're about too. We're about taking care of the customer. That's what it's all about. We love cigars and we love our customers, so it all goes hand in hand.
It's funny, when we do this merchandising in our factory tour, we always ask the consumers, "Would you pay $1 more for great customer service?" And 100% of them say yes. And I just go to these cigar stores and I see, especially the attention to detail with customer service and everything. And I'd be under the assumption that if I was a consumer, I would really respect and appreciate that. We were just talking about that, Nicholas. One of the great things that we're proud of is a lot of our retailer partners all around the country, especially with everything that's happened in the last couple of months. You can talk about it. We were talking about, hey, listen, direct costs, indirect costs, employees, that never went down. But business did because the government shut people down. And I believe that everybody's essential, including cigar stores. And everybody has to make a living. And I think that Wayne produces a lot of enjoyment. I'm former military, and I'll never forget the smoke and cokes where we couldn't do much, but we could smoke a cigar and we could drink a Coke on the weekends. That was like a big thing for us because there wasn't much you could do. And when you're in Afghanistan today, or you're in these different countries, well, you can't drink alcohol, you can't have their women if you're single, and the only thing you really can enjoy is cigars. And well, you know about that, Tom. But anyway, and it's important, and the retailers are really a big part of it. They're the artery of it, And someone just said, they sent me 12-year and 20th anniversaries to Afghanistan. I was out there. I guess it was you guys. Great customer service. I got countless pictures of the military and guys, enjoying, and letters written. "Hey, listen, I was depressed. Cigars got me through." To me, it's one of the best PTSD stories in the world is a cigar and relaxation. I think we could probably solve a lot of the world's problems if we all could get together with a cigar and have the federal government leave us alone.
Yeah. Well, luckily for us, for all this COVID-19 a year or so ago, we decided to go fully operational with our website. And it's right down to the point where if you go to our website, the cigar is going to be on there. It's going to be in stock. It'll tell you how many we have. And that's just been fantastic. Thank you, Daniel, for your compliment on sending cigars. We ship cigars, Ansteads.com. We do a lot of work with the military, APO. We ship all over the United States. But we give the same customer service to our web. We have a guy that he handles just all of our web stuff. So when our orders come in at night, and he comes in 8 o'clock in the morning and processes them, if the orders come in late that morning and we miss the shipment, he'll run them to the post office that day before the post office closes to make sure we get that order out the day it arrives here. So if we don't want you running out of cigars, so we're going to do our best to make sure our customer service on our mail order end is just as strong as our retail end.
And they have the option to do an in-store pickup, so they can do a mail order. And while they're running through town, they can stop in, pick up their order, it's already paid for. Of course, we did curbside service for those, who are more worried about the COVID pandemic going on. We'd run it out there, off they'd go. So it's been keeping us very busy in the mornings and then throughout the day. And like Wayne said, it's great when Ed's like time for him to leave. If we've got more orders, he'll just grab that box and take it there and deliver it all to the post office for us. So he does a lot of work keep that running smoothly.
And I understand on the other side, there's people that don't have brick and mortar stores anywhere near them, like Montana and Idaho and a lot of different places, and they can order via catalog and the internet. That's perfectly fine too. There's literally, I know people that don't have a cigar shop within 90 to 100 miles from it. And I get it. They really don't want to drive 3 hours to buy a couple cigars. I get that. So, it's a whole different thing. But I really, we had talked about it. Don't you agree with that with the brick and mortar guys? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, Nicholas, I got a question for you. So you guys are out on the road. You're a cigar sales guy. What's your criteria to put Perdomo cigars in a store? What do you look for?
Well, I mean, we look for. It all depends on the store. We try to sell. And we look at each store as its own puzzle. There's not a minimum required order. The whole thing is we want, based on our principles and how we merchandise and how, we really, we want to be able to set the retailer, our business partner, ourselves, where we're both successful. It all depends. There's no minimum orders, anything like that. As long as we can get, like my dad was saying, a square inch principle. As long as we can get up to 34 inches, and as long as we can, sell the brand the proper way where it turns itself pretty much, that's what we look for. We look for, organic growth in a way where naturally that brand, because it's sold right, and the salesman did his or her job, with being a good business partner to the retailer. That's really the criteria. That's how we want to sell. That's our mission.
And I would add one thing too. One of the big things is we look at zip codes and mileage, and so do our sales team. If someone opens up in Fayetteville, 1 mile from Wayne Anstead, we're probably not going to sell that guy cigars, because all we're doing is cannibalizing our business, and we're cannibalizing him. And he's been a supporter for our cigars for a lot of years. A lot of guys will say, "Why don't you sell to Jimmy's?" And a lot of times they'll say, "Because Jimmy's moved in 5 blocks from Barney, and he used to be Barney's customer, and thought how cool it was to open up a cigar store." I don't understand why Jimmy just didn't move like 6 or 7 miles away. Why did he have to move 5 blocks away from him?
Right.
It's not personal. The thing of it is we do have a criteria on who we want to sell to. We want to sell to the very best stores in the country. We want to have a footprint in every store. We just follow the McCormick principle, where everything pretty much looks the same. It makes it easier for the consumer to shop, and it's been huge for us, and it's really catapulted our growth in the last 9 years. Matter of fact, since we started this project, we've almost tripled our output in 9 years, which is really astronomical for the amount of cigars we make. We're blessed.
You guys did an amazing job on your point of sale, because with each box drops down a little description, wrapper, binder, filler, the brand name, and not so much detail that somebody's not going to read it, but it gives you just enough to kind of get you looking at the cigar or possibly asking us questions. So your packaging, your display, it just looks great, and you can tell people have a tendency to gravitate to it.
Yeah, it's just important for us to just be just very uniform across, and it's really worked for us, Wayne. Tom.
That's good. That's good.
One thing we like to do during these live shows is other folks do some trivia questions, but we've got trivia questions we're going to ask so that if people answer correctly in the comments, we're going to go live next week and pull some raffle tickets for those people who answered them correctly, and they'll win some cool prizes out of our swag stash here and some things. But we give them a couple days to go back, rewatch the video so they can find the answers, because the answers are in there. So I've got 2 questions I'm going to ask, and then I'm going to let you guys, Nicholas and Nick, ask a question. So the first one I'm going to ask, for everyone listening out there, you might win something cool. You never know what we're going to pull out of the swag pile. First question, when did the golf cigar come out? What year? I know Nick mentioned this earlier, so go back, watch the show again, and hit like a couple hundred more times. The next question I'm going to ask, I'm sure some folks will like this and they'll answer it pretty quick. What company do most of the barrels that Perdomo tobacco is aged in come from? So what company do most of the barrels come from? I know that was out there. It's pretty good, fun factoid there from the factory. I've seen these barrels. It's really great when you're on a tour and they open the barrel up and they pull out a whole hand of tobacco, and each leaf looks the same color. They look absolutely beautiful. You can't believe that that's just it's just gold sitting right there in that barrel. It's amazing. So it's pretty neat. Nick, any good trivia question? You'll have to send us the answer, of course, privately. Any good trivia question you could ask our viewers that's maybe not an easy one, maybe a tough question for them, and we can pull 3 raffle tickets next week. Wayne and I'll go live again, just like this, and we'll pull some raffle tickets out and call some names. It's been a lot of fun lately.
What year did Perdomo Cigars move to Nicaragua?
So that was what year did Perdomo Cigars move to Nicaragua?
Where,
A while ago.
where did my son graduate from college? And
Ooh.
I'll tell you guys the answer later.
Okay. So we got 4 questions there. So Wayne and I'll be busy next week for all of the answers. So we're gonna write those down. We carried the Cameroon. Was it it's a limited edition. Is that true Cameroon wrapper, or is it like Cameroon seed grown, maybe in Nicaragua? Can you give me a little more info?
No, that's a true Cameroon wrapper. That was bought by I bought that from my good friend Rick Marifel, who unfortunately passed away in the early 2000s. Believe it or not, I have it certified, but that wrapper was from the 1998-1999 crop. We're in 2020. When you bought Cameroon, Cameroon's not a very big leaf, so you had to buy small lots, medium lots, and large lots. And what happened was about 7 years ago, I went to Sarah and I said, I'm getting sick and tired of looking at these boxes of Cameroon. We're not doing anything with it. Why can't we make cigars with these wrappers? They look beautiful. She said, because they're only 13 inches. They're very small and they're not very wide. I said, I don't care if the cigar is 1 inch by 10. Make something. Let's come up with something. So the biggest thing we could make was about a 4 5/8 inch by 44 Corona. And I said, great, let's make a 4.5 inch by 44 Corona. And I don't want to put the age on it because nobody's going to believe me anyway. But let's just make it limited. And we're going to run that one size. We'll do it in a black box. Not the best for merchandising, but really something special. And it's a wonderful cigar. We call it the little rocket here at the facility. And those wrappers, believe it or not, it's not because of my infinite wisdom. It's just because I never used them because they were too small. But those wrappers, Nicholas was 6 years old when I bought those, when those wrappers were grown in Cameroon. And, between me and Carlos Fuente and General Cigar, we were the big buyers from Rick Marifel. And unfortunately, he passed away. His sons are now in the business. They're starting to grow tobacco in Cameroon. I told him, when you get a good crop, give me a call. I'd like to go back to it. It's there's really no Cameroon out there right now per se, but we're looking forward to get back into Cameroon because I'm a big fan of it. It's not the prettiest wrapper. You smoke for it. You smoke it because of the taste. But,
Right.
as time goes on, things get better. You get great wrappers grown in the Jalapa Valley of Nicaragua, great Maduro wrappers, and a lot of the great Connecticut seed wrappers that we worked together with the Perez family for the last 25 years. And that's how we came out with brands like Champagne that are just, they're on fire. Champagne's been out 20 years. It's still growing. It's really incredible. It's a cigar that hits every part of the gamut. Wayne smokes it. I smoke it. I mean, I know tons of people smoke. It's probably one of the most loyal brands out there. And it's been good. I always tell Nicholas that it paid for his college, and how expensive college tuition is. It's done pretty good.
Yeah. So what is it that makes the Jalapa tobacco have that sweet smell to it?
It's the character. It's the character. That's a great question, Wayne. It's the characteristics of that tobacco. It's also that when we get it from David, we ferment it again and we bulk it again, and it gets that honey color instead of that bright yellow yolk. The reason that is because those wrappers have a lot of time on them, and they do. They smell like honey wheat bread.
Yeah.
You smell them when you're at the factory, and it's been phenomenal for us. We were one of the first that came out with a Connecticut shade wrapper with Nicaraguan fillers and binders. Everybody told me it couldn't be done, and it can be. And I think Perdomo Reserve Champagne has proved it. And then we started adding these top wrappers onto our 20th anniversary, 12-year double-aged vintage, because we have a tremendous amount of inventory of Connecticut seed wrappers because I'm a big believer. And I think if you ferment it real well, it has this creamy finish. It really works very well with Nicaraguan fillers and binders. And someone just asked, I've been growing tobacco since 1999. In 21 years, I think the best crop that I've ever had was 30 days ago. It was this year. We had an incredible crop this year. And I think a lot of it has to do with the technology. We work with an Israeli company. We can actually pelletize droplets of water now and put algicide, fungicide in the correct amount of particles of fertilizer and actually drive it into each root base. And in the old days, we used to have, 60 guys do, 3 acres of land. Now we can do 600 acres of land with one guy with a computer and a turn of a key. And the technology is incredible. The company invested a tremendous amount of money in all of our farms, but this technology has really made our tobacco even better this day. I think this year we're really blessed. I think this was the best crop we ever had, but I'm dying to see it because I've had 6 trips to Nicaragua canceled, and I'm supposed to go there next month, and I'm dying to see this crop. Pictures are great, but I want to feel it, touch it. You know what I mean? It's
we were down there on the tour, and we're out there out in the field there, and we see the tobacco growing. It just looks perfect. The color looks so rich. The leaves look beautiful. You don't see a single leaf with damage on it or any evidence of anything going wrong. It's almost like an heirloom product.
Yeah, we're blessed.
Beautiful.
We just have great technicians out there. We have a great agronomy team. We have a great genetic guy. We have 2 genetic guys that we've developed several seed strains in the last 11 years. And things have worked out really good with us. And the company's really put its money where its mouth is. And we've invested a lot of money from that. One of the questions Corey asked to use tobacco from Ometepe. I did it from the late 90s to about 2004. I just don't find Ometepe tobacco to really accent anything from Jalapa, Condega, or Esteli, Corey. It's a very neutral tobacco, and the tobaccos from Jalapa and Esteli and Condega have much more flavor. And it's almost it's a masking agent. I mean, this tobacco is just to put in the bunch. I really didn't feel it accelerated any flavors. Did you think it was anything special? I didn't think so either. So once we ran out of the tobacco, we stopped and we decided not to continue the project.
Well,
That's a great question, Corey. Thanks for asking that, because a lot of people want to know about Ometepe, and we've seen it used in other things. But it's good to hear from Nick, who's got his hands on it. He's trying it. He's testing it. He's using it. He knows what he needs to make a Perdomo cigar taste the way they do. So thanks for that answer and the question.
And it's interesting, anybody that's been on the trip knows this. When you get down to the factory, and I'm sure we don't see all your tobacco storage areas, but as far as your eye can see in every direction, there's bales and bales. And the thing I enjoy doing is walking and scampering up and down the aisles and just looking at the dates on some of those bales up there. And, some are 5 years old, some are 10 years old. It's amazing the amount of inventory you guys sit on. That's just incredible.
Yeah, some of those milk cards, I think, were written with a typewriter.
They were. Yeah, we actually have tobaccos that are the oldest tobaccos we have today are about 13 years old. And it's not necessarily the age of the tobacco, it's the way you store them. And having these hermetically sealed warehouses that we have that have the perfect amount of humidity control and so on is what keeps those tobaccos alive. Because age, believe it or not, can be a damage to tobacco. Just like being a human being, the older you get, the slower you get. Well, tobacco becomes the same way. So we're blessed that we have great installations. And we've had some partners in Italy who've designed some humidification units for us. And it's been fantastic. But you're as good as your last bale.
Yeah. So I have a question for both you guys, Nicholas, whoever wants to field it. Customers ask me all the time, how long should I age a cigar before it's right? And I have my answer I typically give them, but you guys are the pros. Tell us your thoughts on once the cigar gets to Anstead's and we open it up and we put it on the shelf or we sell a customer a box, do they need to age that cigar?
Absolutely not. That's our job. You guys have been to our facilities in Nicaragua. With the amount, fermenting tobacco properly, first of all, and then, after the tobacco, we harvest it, cure it, proper fermentation, then the way we age tobaccos, you're talking about 6-year-old, for example, Perdomo Reserve, 6-year-old Nicaraguan tobaccos, 20th anniversary, 8-year-old Nicaraguan tobaccos, 12-year double-aged vintage, 12-year-old aged tobaccos, wrapper, binder, filler tobaccos. We've done the job. So, tobacco over time loses its oils and resins. So if you age them too long, it's going to lose flavor. So you're going to lose some of that strength that really those tobaccos that, purposely when we make those cigars and we age them, they're ready for, and they get shipped to your store and the cigar smoker buys them. They're ready to smoke immediately. So
yeah, he's spot on that. Look, like for example, the new stuff like Nick was saying, it's from our 2012, 2013 crop. We made the cigars. We normally age the cigars in our cedar rooms after all the curing, fermentation, aging of the actual tobaccos for another 185 days. These have been actually in humidors for over 13 months. Those cigars are bursting with their flavors. They're ready to smoke, and they're designed the way the blenders in our company, including myself, have designed those cigars to taste. That's a question that we get a lot from our European customers. I had a tour a couple years ago, and the Europeans were saying, we buy your cigars. We've not sold one yet. We've had them for about 5 months. When can we sell them? I'm like, now. You don't have to hold them for 5 months. That's the manufacturer's job. And they say, well, this country we buy them from, when we buy them, they tell us we have to hold on to them for 6 months so they can age. That's a good manufacturer. Make sure that his tobacco is cured properly, fermented tobacco properly, and aged properly. And once they're made, they should be aged again. So all three of those flavors interlock, whether it be the filler, binder, and wrapper. And Nichols is spot on in that. When you buy a box of Perdomo cigars, they're ready to smoke right now. A lot of people say they want to put them down for 6 months. You can, but all you're doing is if you like that flavor, they do biochemically in the bunch, they become lighter in flavor because as they break down, like Nicholas said, you start losing oils and resins. They are very smooth, but it's not exactly the way the maker designed it or I designed it. It's like when you buy a Porsche 911 and people change the wheels and cut the suspension and add stuff. That's not the way the Porsche designed that car. They designed it a certain way, and it was for you to put the key in and turn it on and push on that right pedal as fast as you can push down on it. It's the same thing with the cigar.
And then
right. I hear that question too sometimes, and I give them basically the same answer. These cigars were already taken care of, processed, aged. Everything's been done. They're ready to smoke when you get them. However, I do sell some people like the caveat that if you order online from somewhere and you get them in, you may want to let them rest in your humidor for maybe a week so they acclimatize to your humidor, and they're the shock of shipment, depending on how they got to that person, is kind of relieved a little bit. It's acclimatized and it's ready to go within a couple of days, really not much longer. I do have one last question for one of our viewers, and I think it's a pretty good question. I'll put it up on the screen. Fred would like to know, like bourbon, does position on the stack during aging affect the outcome?
The stack for us is way before we're gonna put it in bourbon barrels. And the guy who asked that question, Fred Renaud, was an old friend of mine. We were air traffic controllers together, and Fred. I've been gone a long time, and Fred retired. And Fred's a big cigar lover. He lives in northern Florida. He's a great guy. What we do, Fred, just to answer that question, depending on the stack position of where it is on the plant, is what's going to tell us whether it's light, medium, or strong. What the bourbon barrel aging does, it's not to infuse bourbon into the cigars. The alcohol radicals inside, because they use French oak, is embedded into the bourbon barrels. When you deposit that tobacco, the free radicals run under pressure, and what it does, it lets the tobacco heat up and ferment. The charcoal inside, because they char it, is almost a filtering agent. And because it uses French oak and it's not varnished, the tobacco breathes. So I get everything. So what happens at the end? Darker hues, because the tobacco heats up naturally with that extra fermentation. The sugars and the alcohol residue give it the other fermentation period. The charcoal, again, takes all those rough edges off, and it's a filtering agent. And because those barrels are unvarnished, I get breathing. And what happens is the tobacco doesn't mold. So when you take those tobaccos out, kind of like Wayne and Tom spoke, you smell it, and it doesn't smell like bourbon. It just smells incredible. You smell the sugars, you smell the starches, you smell the tobacco core, that tobacco. And that extra step really differentiates the tobacco, and it really finishes. It's no different than when you paint a car and you do a beautiful job and you apply that last coat of wax and you buff it and that car just looks pristine. That's what the bourbon barrel aging does. And it's an expensive process because you can imagine the barrels aren't cheap. And as bourbon became really super popular, I used to pay $35 for a barrel. They tripled in price, even though I buy them by the container. But it's important for us because bourbon barrels and tobacco are kind of like men and women. They work together really well for the most part.
Well, that was a good question. I want to thanks Fred for asking that. Nick, thank you so much for joining us. We're about at that hour mark. Any last things you want to say before we say goodbye?
Thank you for your being such a great business partner. Thank you for having us on the show, and anything we can do to be a better business partner with you guys, you let us know. And thank you so much for all the support.
Yeah, really, I echo the same thing, and I'd like to thank all the consumers out there that support our brands. And like I said earlier, please support your local brick and mortar guys. They do a wonderful job, as you well know, and especially during these rough months of March, April, and May, where a lot of these guys were upside down. We need to build them back up, and we need to be a crutch for them. And being a former military guy, it was special when I got to do an event with Wayne last year, and we had a really phenomenal event. It was great seeing its consumers out there. We all pulled the same way, and I just wish everybody a lot of blessings, and God bless every one of you. And thank you for supporting Perdomo Cigars.
We thank you, Nick. Thank you guys for coming on, Nicholas, as well. Just a reminder, customers, the promotions, and Tom will run them by you again, are going to go through Sunday. You can also order at ansteads.com. There won't be an option for the free goods, but it'll automatically be shipped with your product. So if you're interested in trying out some of the new cigars aren't coming into August, but we have a lot of customers that like the regular stuff, and it's a great opportunity to kind of stock up. We got plenty of inventory. So, when the event's over, we'll place another order next Monday too. Right, Nick?
Absolutely. We like that.
Yep. So to recap the deals, buy 4 Eddie Perdomo, you're going to get 1 free. Buy 10, you're going to get 3 free. Buy any box, you're also going to get 8 free cigars. If you order online, just leave a note in the instructions that it's for the special, and we'll get that out to you ASAP. Thank you again, everyone, for watching today and tuning in. We had a great time. Nicholas, thank you.
Thank
Wayne,
you guys for having us. Great job. We really appreciate it.
Hello.
all right. Good night.
I said hello. So, Jenny, I said hello.
Likewise. Thank you to the family also. Take care,
Thank
guys.
you guys.
All right.
Take care.